And we are recording. Welcome to Spring 22 release, where we have our awesome Salesforce PMs who are going to talk about everything that's coming out in Spring 22 release and beyond. So to start with, we have Anirudh Sridhar, who is the Director of Product Management at Salesforce. We have Gary Gong, who is the Product Manager at Salesforce. We have Neeraj, who is also the Director of Product Management at Salesforce. And we have Oksana, who's the lead product designer. So most of our designs that we see nowadays is from her and her team. Anirudh, you're going to take it away?
I think I'm going to be.
Yeah, I'll get us started.
Sure, thank you.
I am.
And let me go and share my screen here. How's everyone doing? Hope everyone is doing well. I'm loving people are joining in from their desktop. People are on the go, joining in from their phones.
The question is, how are you doing with the release coming up?
Yeah, Spring 22 is almost out. It's been good so far to us. Hopefully it remains that way. So it's really excited to actually come back here to the Chicago Meetup. It's been a while. 2021 is behind us. Hope people have a safe and good 2022. So excited to present what's in Spring 22, what's in store for Spring 22 today, and in the future as well. So now, before we get to the good stuff, I got to present this other good stuff, which is our forward-looking statement. Now, I am planning on presenting features. Some of them are going to be generally available. There's going to be some features which are not yet generally available. And as Sayantani requested, also presenting some forward-looking stuff and ideas that we have. So what I would just remind people on this call is to make any purchase decisions based on what's available in the product today. And just a couple of more pointers before we get started. So Spring 22 has a lot of exciting stuff, but it takes a village, and that includes all of you. So I want to thank you all for your participation, questions, feedback, and everything else that helps us keep going. Other people in the village include all of my other product experts who I'm representing today. It's safe to say that I may not be able to answer all your questions that I have today, but I can definitely most certainly get you in touch with the folks who can. And all of you probably already know the best communication channels. You can post in the success community, reach out to us directly if you know the PMs. But we are excited to hear your feedback, questions, and we can get it answered one way or the other. The other thing is that—
real quick.
Yes.
Anyone who's not on mute and not speaking, can you please go on mute? Thanks, Anirudh.
Sure. The second piece is basically, so my colleagues have created a lot of other content as well. We've created blog posts you can check out on salesforceblogger.com. There's the release readiness live that I encourage everyone to check out if they haven't. It kind of also gives you our PMs also using slide decks to talk about the features. What I plan to do today is to really spend a lot of time on demos. I probably don't really have that many slides, so we can take a look at what's actually in the product. So which means I won't be able to get through everything, but hopefully we can cover some of the big ones. And with that, this is going to be the one slide that I have before we jump into demos, probably for the next 30 minutes or so. So again, I'm Anirudh Sridhar, and I'm a product manager on the Tableau CRM Experience side, which is all about authoring analytical assets as well as consuming those analytical assets by end users. So that is the Tableau CRM Experience. And we are segmenting our features into 3 buckets. Fast Stat, which is all about allowing you to build and operationalize those assets faster for your users. In this category fall the vast library of pre-built templates and solutions that we have for sales, service, and other industry verticals. And these keep expanding every release. And then we have Simple, which is about allowing you to really build consumer-grade, rich analytical app experiences with clicks, not code, or using low code, even if it is from scratch. It is about making things easy for the author and making that experience excellent for your user. And then we have everywhere, which is all about taking that analytics to the place where your user lives and where your user works, whether it is in Salesforce or is it in any other tool like Slack. And it is also about making analytics easy and approachable for everyone in your organization. So we want all of your users to be data-driven. We want them to be data curious. And that's why we're working on features that's going to make analytics approachable and easy to consume for everyone. So under fast start, the highlighted items are what I'm going to demo. And in the end, maybe if I have time, I can come back and just give some more insights on the other ones. But we should hopefully have a lot of stuff to see in demos. And for questions, I'll try and pause briefly as I go through maybe each section, and we can maybe get some questions answered. And if there's a lot of other questions, I can either answer it at the end or I can do it async, just based on how much time we have. So with that, let's get started with the demo. All right, so let me go and zoom in. All right, hopefully it is properly visible to everyone. Let me know if not, if I need to zoom in further. So we'll start off. Okay, awesome. So we're going to start off with revenue intelligence. Now, revenue intelligence is a new SKU that's really about bringing actionable intelligence to your sales team so that they can sell more, they can sell faster, they can not just meet, but exceed their targets. And what we have done is we've really added intelligence using Tableau CRM and Einstein and infused it into the experience where your sales users and sales team works. So revenue intelligence is a new SKU, and part of that is revenue insights. So once you install revenue intelligence, you will see this new tab in your org called revenue insights, and that will present you these bunch of dashboards that have been built. And in here, you can take a look at your team's progress. You can, as a sales leader, you can check the progress of all your teammates. On the right here, we actually have how you are doing in terms of reaching quota and your forecast. And the one big thing that I would like to mention that's different in this iteration versus the previous is that these are all live queries. So this is live data using live queries that is reaching out to your Salesforce org and getting that freshest data for you to be able to take actionable insights reliably. If you scroll down further, it's not just about seeing and forecasting what's happening in your sales pipeline, but also actionable pieces, like what opportunities should I focus on? We list the opportunities that have no activity in a while. There's been no next step mentioned, or opportunities that are stuck. And you can take a look at all of the opportunities here, and you can actually go into the details by opening the pipeline inspection to take a more detailed look. You can also take a look at the opportunity changes as well as your top open opportunities. So you kind of have like a high level actionable guide on what you need to focus on next with this. The revenue insight also leads into the other intelligent experiences that are part of the revenue intelligence SKU. And this is the forecasting app here. So in here, you can actually see more details about the quota, what's closed, what's committed, etc., and really drill into each of your team members along with the individual opportunity items. Now, this is not Tableau CRM, but revenue intelligence does encompass more than just Tableau CRM as a combined SKU. So with revenue intelligence, that's all I wanted to point here. I have a few more demos and then I'll pause. The next piece in FastStat is the new and updated design style guide. Now, the design style guide is great for being able to really have these reusable pieces that you can use and leverage when you're building assets. So you can do that in a consistent manner. And we have redesigned it for Spring 22. It's great that you can, once you open it, it allows you to get started. And we start off from the very basic, which is what are the colors that you would like to use in your dashboards. And this is actually configurable when you create the app. So when you go to Home and hit Create App and choose Design Style Guide, it will ask you what is that base color you're interested in. And then it will automatically generate colors based off of that. But you can also go and just edit this if you want to use as a reference that is customized for your needs. We have included lots of fundamental building blocks, titles, headers, toggles, number pills. And these are the basic building blocks that build onto even more, I would say, common, but I guess more advanced pieces such as layouts. We've included KPI panels, horizontal KPI panels, as well as a lot of pre-built content around widgets. So we've included a variety of charts here that it can use. So a lot of just pre-built stuff that you can use and copy and paste it. This synergizes really well with the copy and paste feature that's been released, I think last release. So if I go to, for example, I want to add this to a dashboard of mine, I just have to choose chart, and I can go and copy that widget to a clipboard and then paste it into my destination dashboard. Along with these pre-built pieces, we're also really wanting to expose a lot of these pieces as components so that now you can start reusing this even easier. Component is a type of dashboard widget that encompasses multiple widgets inside of it and things that you can reuse in multiple dashboards. So we have added best practice components that we ourselves use when we are building some of the solutions. So we have components that are around, hey, how can I have like a master detail pattern to present information? If I click on it, you'll see that the activities change, the pattern changes. We have master detail where you have using pages within components to present different metrics that are there. And we have really a lot more design patterns that and the specific components that you can use to leverage some of them. So hopefully this lets you build dashboards faster, manage styles and components in a centralized place, so that you don't have to find yourself building different pieces and different dashboards. So that's the design toolkit. Next, I want to jump into the simple side of things. But before that, let me just pause and see if there are any questions.
You do have a few questions. So first question is from Karthik. Is revenue inside a managed package, or will we be able to use once GA rolls out?
It's a good question, Karthik. Unfortunately, I don't know the answer, but I can forward it to Radha Vivek. If you could either ask this in our success community, or you could just send me an email and I can forward it to the right person. I'm sorry, I don't have that answer right now.
Sure, thanks. Thanks. Yeah.
On a similar note, Sergio is asking, can you talk about the licenses needed to use revenue intelligence? What is the cost of the SKU? Are there minimum data requirements for it to work as expected? Can it be customized to include report more metrics?
So all of those details will be announced shortly. The revenue intelligence, we are planning to basically have it become publicly GA. So it will include all of that. What I do know now is that it will be a separate SKU by itself, a combo SKU. So you can just get revenue intelligence, and it will come with all of these things, which include these analytical assets, as well as the sales forecasting pieces in the Sales Cloud, etc. But I'm sure you're looking for a lot more information, and those should be available shortly.
Perfect. The last question for now is there information behind the forecasting model used for revenue intelligence? Matthew is asking this, not necessarily the specific model, but things like seasonality, etc. Just wondering, because those are things I get asked when I develop them.
Gotcha. I know that Radha Vivek, what she told me was there have been, basically we are using the advancements we've made in the Tableau CRM platform. On this very specific question about what are those forecasting models, I'm not aware of the details of how those models are have been built, but there's definitely an opportunity to get all of these questions, I think, clarified once it becomes generally available.
I do have a question. Sorry,
Yes.
go ahead.
Nothing, please go ahead.
I do have a question regarding the designs that we were showing, especially for components. Can we search for components now without actually opening dashboards and then going to components?
That's a great question. I was planning on mentioning that Arthur Fab, who is the PM for components, does have this on his mind. And from what I know, it is something that we want to solve relatively quickly on being able to discover and manage your components directly from home or from the studio and not just from a dashboard. It's not in Spring 22, but it's on our minds for the short term.
Perfect. Any other questions before Anirudh moves on? No, no. You can continue, Anirudh.
Awesome. Okay, so we will be moving on to the simple track now. So I spoke about, let's start off with table enhancements, actually. So tables continue to be a very popular item with customers, and there were just a few what I call table stake features that we have filled in Spring 22. And those two are table resizing, column resizing and text wrapping. So it's fairly straightforward, but I'll just demonstrate what we have here. So if I have a values table with all these columns, I can now go ahead and resize any column that I want. We also have text wrapping. So if I make this smaller, we have text wrapping on headers, as well as text wrapping on the actual value cells. These are turned on by default, but you can turn them off if you want. And as a dashboard builder, you can set these when you're authoring your dashboards. And whatever you set is what will be honored when your user first views the dashboard. But what we also did was we understand that different users have different screen resolutions. And when you're viewing it in different experiences, such as, let's say, in a community cloud, we want those end users to also be able to customize it. So your end users, when they are viewing an asset, whether it's in Studio, Home, or in Embedded Anywhere, they can also go and resize it so that they can best figure out how they want to view this. There is one limitation, which is these changes are transient. In preview mode, these changes are transient, and we currently don't persist these to save views. It is something that customers have asked us, and it's something that we are putting it in our backlog. But while the end users will be able to customize it, they won't be able to persist it to save views, at least for now. So that is text wrapping and table resizing. And
does it work does it work with compare table as well?
It does. It works with compare table. I guess this is a great chance for me to go into some of the more meatier details. It works with compare table. It works with pivot tables. It works with all three table sizing modes. So we have fit to widget. And even though there are so many columns, so this is not the ideal, but it works with fit to widget as well. And how it works is slightly different. In fit to widget, if you resize, we ensure that your table continues to fit to widget, but we resize the other columns appropriately. The other columns will be scaled up or down. So if I increase this, you'll see that this honors whatever the user resized. It takes away from some of the other columns. So we ensure that the tables are always fitting to the widget. All right, so this is about vanilla tables, still very popular and still very powerful. But what we've been thinking of is people have been asking us for features like, hey, how can I incorporate charts into my table? How can I get more richer tables? I want to be able to format, bold, left align, right align. I want really more flexibility on the alignment. So tabular data is very popular. And that's why we have introduced a new widget type in Spring 22 called the Repeater Widget. And I'm just going to start off with showing you some examples that Arthur has built of things you can do with the Repeater Widget. Now, Repeater Widget is great when you want full flexibility on how you want to visualize your tabular data. So in this example, I have created a leaderboard. And each row, think of each row as just a row in a table. And to show you how that looks like, I'm going to show the details here. Imagine, so every widget is powered by a query. And in this case, the query results just looks like this. So you could render this as a chart, but you wouldn't be able to really showcase so many of these measures. That's not really that usable. You could also render this as a plain vanilla table. But again, there's a lot of columns. And there are times when users want something like this. They really want that dense information view. But there are other times where you really want to create a more engaging, more easily consumable experience for your end users. That's where the Repeater Widget comes in. And it allows you to almost take each row of that result and really create any look and feel that you want. So I've created leaderboards here. I can mix and match number widgets, text widgets. I have the pipeline held. You see, I've included charts in here as well. And this is a great time for me to go back into this revenue insights. We've actually incorporated a lot of Repeater Widgets here. This chart that you see here is actually a Repeater Widget, where we are repeating each row, which consists of a name, a chart, and an image. Scroll down, and this may look like a table to you, but it's actually a Repeater Widget. So the Repeater Widget allows you to do things like make your text bold, allow you to add icons right next to the metric that you want to show. So there's a lot of possibilities with Repeater Widget. And what I want to do is now just show kind of what is that editing experience like. So I've gone to edit mode. I'm double clicking. I'm selecting my Repeater Widget. And now I can click this button to edit the repeater content. So now I'm not taken into a separate view. It's right there in line. I'm able to leverage whatever size of dashboard I have currently. And what I can do is I can just, as you would build any other component or a dashboard, you are building each row of a repeater. So I can now just kind of drag text widgets. I can leverage. I can bring in dynamic data. This is the UI that you're familiar with when you want to add interactions. And this allows you to reference any field that's coming in from your result set. So these are all the fields that are in that table that you can now show. So I'm just going to do some change just to demonstrate. But now I've added this one item. Now if I do done, you see how it is now incorporated and we automatically repeat it across. So really what we're hoping is we're really excited to see what's possible, what the community does with this. We have some examples of how we have used it, but you can use it for leaderboards, tables, even grid layouts. Let me see if I have, there we go. This is another example of a repeater widget where it's a grid and you can choose how you want to repeat it, how many items you want to go across and down. So with this, you can create layouts that are much more consumable by end users. So yeah, that's Repeater Widget. So I'm going to pause here to see if there's any questions before I move on to some of the other simple stuff.
Yes, first of all, Karthik said, thank you for column resizing. Yeah, you are aware, all of us are going over column resizing and column wrapping. So no doubt. Okay, Matthew is asking, are there any binding limitations to the repeater widget? Example, can you flip between measures to change from dollar amount to number of opportunities?
Good question. Let's see. Let's take a look. Let's take a look at how is the widget. So the Repeater Widget, the great thing is that if you see the Repeater Widget itself has no reference to parts of the query. All we do is reference the step. So let's see. And we do, I guess we insert the field. So as long as your query has those fields, maybe you might be able to just bind to it as you would any other. So it could potentially work, although I am not sure, to be honest. I do think that you can most certainly bind to the query, but I guess you would need to bind to the fields itself. So as long as the fields name are the same, maybe those bindings should just work. If not, I'm not sure if bindings are supported in these attributes. If you want to bind one field name versus another, does that help? Or at least does that provide, hopefully,
He said,
some
thank
possibilities?
You. Yep.
Okay, yeah, but that's a great question to make it even more dynamic.
That
awesome.
way, you don't have to make multiple pages of this. It'll be the same page using just one binding. You can toggle between multiple things.
Yeah. That sounds powerful. That could be powerful. I'll mention it to Arthur just in case.
Perfect.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome. Okay, moving on now to LWC. So the ability to use Lightning Web Components in your Tableau CRM dashboard, that is generally available as of Spring 22. And what I want to do is just give a brief overview of why would you want to do this. So thanks to Ed Mengel, who is managing this area and has created these assets for me to show. So LWC, you have LWC. You may have used LWC Lightning Web Components as part of Salesforce's page builder, and it resides outside of a Tableau CRM asset. And you also have your SDK. What LWC in Tableau CRM dashboards allows you to do is to reuse that LWC that you have and incorporate it directly within the dashboard, more closely integrated with our runtime, as well as the layout. So by integrating LWC into or adding an LWC into a Tableau CRM dashboard, you get access to, and it's much easier to build that interactivity between that LWC as well as all of the other widgets on your dashboard. So if you have a need for a custom widget, a custom behavior, or maybe we have a widget or you need a widget that we just don't support yet, this is a great chance to build reuse an existing widget or build a custom LWC and incorporate it into your dashboard. So as an example, this gives a little bit more information on once you have your LWC, you will be able to reference the dashboard state, such as what are the selections, filters, other state. You can actually pass it into the LWC, as well as the LWC is aware of bidirectionally aware of the other dashboard state as well. You will be able to use your query to power and render the LWC by incorporating all of the faceting, selections, filterings, etc., bindings. All of that will be propagated to the LWC, and LWC can be the encapsulation for how you want to render, as well as any other business logic that you want. Now, what we want you to be able to do is to really be able to go and conquer the world and rule all the world with LWC. You see something that we don't support. You see something that is very custom to your need. LWC could be an answer. And what Ed has done is to really create a playground now as we show you some examples of what all are possible with LWC. So let's start from the left. We have a hierarchy widget built with LWC. We have a plain list widget that you could customize. You need a chart type that's not there in Tableau CRM. You could incorporate your own using open source libraries. So this is a word cloud, or using chart.js. You can create, for the same hierarchy widgets, here is an example of how it's not just about rendering and visualizing, it's also about interactivity. So if I can leverage this hierarchy widget to render what is the hierarchy model in my Salesforce org, I can also click to go and filter. So this is again important, right? We don't want these to just be isolated blocks on a dashboard. You are being able to use it to interact with that widget as well as other widgets. Some more custom charts. You can bring in existing LWC components like the progress indicator, maybe convert it into a breadcrumb navigation field for your dashboard. So these are just some of the examples of the things you can do with LWC. Now, I will mention one thing. Ed, of course, is the master, the mad scientist behind this. But the one key thing that I think that might be useful for everyone to know, I know it was helpful for me to know, is LWC, we expose, or you can configure what attributes are exposed and can be configured by the dashboard builder. So this is what's going to make your LWC dynamic. So for example, in this case, I can configure what is the ID column that I want to show, what is the parent column in the hierarchy, what column do I want to use a label. And then what you can do is you can build a query behind it. So that's how you're kind of disassociating the query, which is the data powering the component, from the actual component itself. So in that way, you still have access to be able to build your query using whatever data sources that you want, whether it is a live query, whether it's a dataset query. And then you can kind of link it to pieces in your LWC on how you want it to render and behave. So LWC is GA. We do have some resources that I can send later, such as we have some sample boilerplate code that you can use if you're creating an LWC of your own. There's, of course, documentation on how you can incorporate existing LWCs into your dashboard. The release note or help pages are, of course, a great reference for all that information. But I'm going to pause here and see if there's any questions on LWC.
There are two, actually. The first one is from Renana. Currently, LWC is limited to just 10 components per dashboard. Are there any plans to increase this limit?
Ooh, so I believe the 10 limit is on overall number of components, and LWC does fall in that limit, which means that if you have just regular Tableau CRM components 5, you can only have 5 more. I'm not sure. We have heard this from customers. And I know it's on author's mind. I think it's really what the limit was initially set with the view of balancing performance as well when we're incorporating more components. We started off with 10, but I think as we are starting to see people really incorporate components more and more and really be able to componentize everything, it is something that we can revisit. That being said, I don't think there have been any changes to the number of components limit in Spring 22, but it is something that we are considering for the future.
Okay, the next question is theoretically, this is again from Matthew, theoretically, can you embed a Tableau dashboard in a Tableau CRM dashboard via an LWC? Great question, Matthew.
Yeah, I mean, we have the Tableau LWC, right? So this is one of the ways on being able to incorporate. Maybe your company already has existing investments in Tableau. You have built a lot of assets in Tableau, and you want some of those assets to be available for your Salesforce users as well. So rather than having your Salesforce users go navigate somewhere else, you could incorporate Tableau dashboard in here. It's very much possible. It is an LWC. Of course, some of the things that you'll have to think about is the authentication and how you plug it all in together, hook it together. We are looking at ways. In general, we here have the analytics portfolio, right? We have Tableau and Tableau CRM, and what we are looking for are ways on how you can leverage your existing investments across both of these products. So you could do it today with the Tableau LWC, and we are actually looking at ways to make it easier as well.
Okay, the next question is actually for me. Will we receive this recorded Zoom when it's done? Yes. Usually all the Tableau CRM meetups that happen all around the world are posted on a YouTube channel called Tableau CRM Meetups. And we can post the link here, or you can find even the previous ones, not just from Chicago Data Tribe. You'll find it from the London Data Tribe. You'll also find it from the Data Tribe Coffee Hour. So all the previous recordings are present there.
Awesome. So now I can proceed on to the last piece that I want to present for the simple track, which is CDP Direct. Now, Tableau CRM Direct Data is an initiative where we allow you to query your data sources live. So for example, you're able to query Salesforce live, you're able to query Snowflake live, and now we are including support for Salesforce Cdp. So for folks who don't know what Salesforce Cdp is, here is I've logged into an org that has Salesforce Cdp. Now, Salesforce Cdp is primarily about creating a unified view of your customer. So it is the customer 360. As a organization, you may be using a Sales Cloud, Service Cloud, different clouds, and you have data that's residing in both places. Salesforce Cdp can allow you to really integrate and unify all of those pieces. And then once it's unified, you can actually make use of that data. You can put it to use, such as you can put it to use for segmentation. And once you have all that data unified, you can also use it for analytical purposes. So Salesforce Cdp, for example, let me just show you a quick overview. This is Salesforce Cdp. And what Salesforce Cdp allows is allowing you to really bring in data from a variety of data sources, such as from the Commerce Cloud. You can kind of unify, think about what all do you need to know about a customer. You already, of course, have information about your customer in Salesforce, such as account information, any opportunities around that, maybe cases around a particular account. But you can also bring in extra information, transactional information, such as product orders, or any engagement information, such as what are their email engagement, what are the number of clicks that they have done on an email, etc. So Salesforce Cdp lets you kind of unify all of that. And it allows you to then, it has some capabilities where you can kind of create additional pre-calculated metrics that might be of interest on all of that data. So example, I can create a lifetime value of different customers.
I have a quick question. I'm so sorry to interrupt you.
No
I've been multitasking here, which is bad on my part. So if we just got this enabled this week, where do I make these lists?
What did you get enabled? Salesforce Cdp or Cdp Direct?
I think just Cdp. I mean, let's just stay with, actually I have a Direct in there too, now that I'm looking.
Got it. So Cdp Direct will let Tableau CRM query Salesforce Cdp directly, but an obvious prerequisite would be to have Salesforce Cdp set up and all of the data populated, so that you can get the best use. Now, there's also another one called Bigquery Direct. I just want to clarify.
I'm using that.
Okay. So Bigquery Direct, so let me see. So for Cdp Direct, actually not Cdp Direct, for Bigquery Direct, what you need to do is you go to your data manager, go to connect, and I think about it this way. For any external data source, such as Snowflake, BigQuery, you would basically manage it by creating a live connection in Data Manager. And that would be when you click Connect to Data, you will see live connections. You will see Snowflake here. Ignore the CDP. That's been deprecated. But you will see Google BigQuery is part of it. So
we have that, yes.
Awesome. So you click on this, you create your live connection. Once you have created a live connection, you can actually now start exposing certain tables from BigQuery or Snowflake. And how you do that is you go to live data sets under data, and you can create a data set. We have built in this additional layer of abstraction so that you can control what tables are exposed to your end users.
So the equivalent, for example, when you connect to GCP, it'll say like project ID, but you pull those in just like an object replication, right? Like, so you pull in your project and it sits there ready to do what you want to do with it.
Correct. As in, by pulling, we don't actually move any data. Data resides still in the data source, but it's almost like we create a proxy data set, like a proxy reference to a external table, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and then so you would schedule it how we do the regular, and sorry, I still call it replications, the data sync. So once you bring it in, you schedule it here, right?
Oh, so data is not brought in for BigQuery Direct, so that's why it has nothing to do with data flows and recipes. But what you could do is Yeah, pretty much this piece is the administration of and the governance piece of what you want to expose to end users. So I would go and create that BigQuery connection by clicking on connect. I then go to my data. Oh, would you like me to run through it, or?
I want to see like you're setting it up for the first time, pulling one in, because everybody on here is going to end up having to use this at some point because data's not getting smaller.
Yeah.
So.
And that's one of the reasons why we have, maybe what I could do is I could definitely send a link.
There's that output and input here now. Great.
Yeah, what I could do if it helps is I can send you a link to a video that kind of explains it for Snowflake, and it's the same for all the external sources. So it
you don't have to take up too much time here because I know you have a lot to go over, but if you want to give us any references, that would be fine.
Awesome. So I can send it over to Sayantani, and then maybe she can help broadcast it to all the folks.
Thank you.
Awesome. Of course.
I will. I do have a question for output connections. We don't use Google BigQuery, but we definitely have a lot of AWS, RDS, Postgres. So can those come here, or what is the timeline?
I would say that's
free, but the others.
Got it. I would say, and I know Chris Ames deals with output connections, but I'm not sure if Neeraj and team have any information that they can provide when they're presenting the data platform. But if not, then I think we'll have to reach out to Chris Ames for anything related to connections.
Okay, and the last question, I think this is also a Chris Ames question, but right now when we do an input or an output connector, but not via Salesforce, the replication is all or nothing. So there is nothing which says that it's going to work in 5 minutes, even if you have millions of rows of data, because almost nothing changed. It's a complete data sync, not a incremental sync, right? Is there any possibility that incremental sync is going to get turned on?
Got it. Another connection. I don't know if Neeraj or Gary have anything to add here, or if the answer is to go back to Chris.
Yeah, no, right now, Anthony, I think that's the expected behavior. Replication is only for Salesforce connected objects. There are some future plans to support incremental in multiple ways. Again, it's safe harbor and currently just under discussion. But perhaps we can have a feedback session later on to capture use cases. Yeah, but
sure. Thank you.
Awesome. Yeah, connections is
always a popular topic
as well. So wrapping up with the CDP piece. So I gave you a bit overview of what CDP is. Now, how you can actually leverage it in Tableau CRM, that's what I want to show you next. So let's go. I'm going to close this. So here's an example of a Tableau CRM dashboard that's been built and embedded in Salesforce, and all of these insights are live queries against Salesforce CDP. So all of this data is in Salesforce CDP. It's not being moved into Tableau CRM. So here's an example of maybe as an account, as a sales rep, you are going to be communicating with this account, and you really want to understand some of the orders, like how much have they ordered, what's the average spend, so that you can have that more informed communication with them. So if you take a look at how this is built, I'll quickly show you an example of how CDP Direct or how we have integrated with Salesforce CDP. So the motivation was to really provide a native experience or native integration. So if you see, I am actually starting directly in the dashboard designer. I didn't need to go to a data manager and create a connection and manage my connections and expose each of those tables for Salesforce CDP. Instead, as a dashboard designer or even an explorer, I can just click on Create Query, and you will see a new tab called Salesforce CDP. So if Salesforce CDP is enabled on that org, and if the user who is using this has access to Salesforce CDP, they should see this tab. And once they click on it, we'll automatically show them all of the objects that are available in CDP, segmented by their type. I don't want to go into the detail of what data lake objects, data models, calculated insights means, but for example, calculated insight, you'll see that again, or everything that's in CDP. So this is great. At least we think this is great because now if you have created tables in CDP, you don't need to go and do any administrative work on Tableau CRM to be able to leverage that. It's all in sync. So now I can go, and it's just, we treat it just like a table.
I have another question. I'm so sorry.
No worries.
This is just so fantastic, and it's something new. We never get anything brand new to learn, so my brain is on fire. When it says data lake on there, that's your external connections?
No, data lake objects are certain type of objects in Salesforce CDP. So it's a very Salesforce CDP specific
Oh, so
construct.
whatever we store over in the pipelines is called data lake here, right?
Yeah, in Salesforce CDP's data repository. It is different than Tableau CRM.
So yeah, so all this new terminology for us to learn what this means here and what that means there. Okay.
Yeah, and I would say a lot of these, basically all of them relate to Salesforce CDP. So if Salesforce CDP is something that you are interested in or your organization is interested in, then there will be a lot more of these constructs. But if you're planning on just working with data that's in Tableau CRM, then you don't necessarily need to learn these constructs yet. But there are a lot of constructs that Salesforce CDP does use.
So if you don't have data pipelines like we do, but if you don't, do those tabs still show up for people?
Maybe Anil, just context around this. So Jen, the CDP is a different product, which is the customer data platform. What I think you are referring to is our Salesforce data pipeline.
Oh, data pipelines.
So with CDP, essentially the use case is a lot around marketing B2C use cases where you're storing those objects and all that kind of customer interaction data in a CDP.
I need to know that too.
Yeah.
So much new to learn.
Let's share some link into the document for the product as well.
I feel like a newbie again, but this is great. Like we're going to have to learn all of this. So in CDP, I will be very clear, not data pipelines, CDP. These data lake objects are they limited, or can you add more, or is there suggested ones? Like if somebody was going to set this up, what would you suggest being the first one to start with?
So Salesforce CDP has like a ton of documentation, but in general, it really depends upon your use case and what your business use case is. But to put it very, I guess in layman's terms, is data stream. Go to CDP. Data streams is how you bring in your data. You want to configure all your data streams.
So marketing could use this, like I'm seeing here.
Exactly.
Okay, great.
Exactly. You see, it's coming in from the Commerce Cloud. It could be coming from marketing. It could be coming from your Salesforce multi-org. Different orgs as well. You set up CDP, you set up this. Again, this is different than SDP, but if CDP is the product that you're considering, then you kind of unify all that data and data streams. You then map it to a standard industry model that CDP provides. And then finally, you can also augment all of that data with other metrics that might be interesting for segmentation or for analytics.
Oh, wow.
So Salesforce CDP there's a lot to learn for Salesforce CDP. And, but I think the really key takeaway is Salesforce CDP has its value proposition. And what we want to do in Tableau CRM is ensure that if you are using Salesforce CDP, we want you to be able to operationalize all that rich data for your Salesforce user. And we want to do that in a very native to CRM manner.
Okay. Now, does CDP, is that something you enable?
CDP is a separate product altogether, so I'm sure there's things like you need to get a license.
You'll get a license with it? Okay.
Yeah, so I would say the best course of action would be to talk to your AE.
Oh yeah, I'm going to go hit up my CSM right now.
The CSM, or that better, yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So 5 more minutes, I think should be more than enough. So let me now talk about some of the last pieces here. Okay, so next I want to talk about collections. So in Tableau CRM, if people are familiar with collections, which is, this is not the org. Let's go to this one. Great. So a couple of releases ago, we released collections, which was the ability to create this curated list of assets that you could then share it with folks. So in Spring 22, what we are also released is the ability to embed a collection directly in a Salesforce record or on the home page. So this way you have your curated assets or assets that your admin may have curated, and you can have it front and center and accessible to your Salesforce users. And this can also act as a great jumping off point for assets that they are regularly want. So rather than you having to create necessarily a landing page or a landing dashboard and embed that into Salesforce, you can kind of leverage collections in embedded collections. The one cool thing is that you see there are some collections that can be marked as pinned. So here you'll see a pin next to a collection, and an admin can actually go and mark a collection as pinned for their end user. So as an example, I have pinned this for one user, but you can also create a group or a role consisting of all the users that you want to push an asset to, and you can mark this collection as pinned. And what that does is it'll show up as a pinned collection in Studio, but when you go and embed it back in Salesforce, it can also show the pinned collection. So this way you have your admin being able to curate and push curated content to your end users that we've seen has been a popular ask. Another thing with these collections is that you can actually also add a view to a collection. So if a user has created a specific view consisting of maybe, let's say Whitespace USA. If you see Whitespace USA is actually a view which is filled with just USA. And he has added this, you can actually save this to a collection. And once so now you can create separate collections or create separate items with different views. And then you can again embed it in Salesforce. So that is everything in the simple track that I wanted to show. I could maybe spend a few more minutes showing about something that's happening in the everywhere or Tableau CRM everywhere. That should only take 5 minutes. So maybe what I'll do is let me talk about or just show some videos of 2 other features that are coming up. So this, I'll spend 2 minutes on this. This is about the Tableau CRM app for Slack, taking Tableau CRM insights to where you are. So I'm going to play. Hopefully everyone can listen to this. I've never presented a video.
Anirudh, we cannot hear any sound.
Oh, I see. How would this work now? There is, I'm hearing a sound.
I would say if you can send us the demo, if it is somewhere, send us the link and we can post it in the community.
Okay, let me reach out to the PMs and see if we can do that. I think that'll be a better use of time. So what I'll do is I'll skip, I had 2 videos, one for Ask Data, which is in a closed beta. So I'll just mention Ask Data for Salesforce is about allowing your users to write natural language queries against Salesforce, against Tableau CRM data sets. And that is currently closed beta. But if you are interested, you can reach out to your AE or customer support to get it enabled. And we can have Anusha, who is the PM, onboard you. And then we have the Tableau CRM app for Slack that is currently in pilot. So if you or your organization are interested in this, then that is, again, something that you can reach out to Tableau CRM PM for enablement. Now, in the interest of time, I do wanted to cover at least some more forward-looking stuff to just show you at least what's happening on the experience side. So let me say around 5 minutes here. So let me show you 2 demos. These are concept demos, but it will incorporate pieces that are already there and pieces that we want to move to. So this demo is all about forecasting. It's about not just being able to see descriptive insights, but being able to see predictive insights and then being able to take action on it for that entire chain of, hey, I want to see what's happening with my business today. I want to forecast where it's going. and I want to know what can I do about it in terms of actions. So let's walk through this. So right here, I'm a sales rep, and I'm a sales leader, and I can come and see the progress of my team. And some of the things that that jump out to me in terms of the capabilities on the platform is just improvements to the Repeater Widget. Now, this is actually with the Repeater Widget. And what we want to do is really allow these other constructs that we have, like killer tooltips, custom tooltips, adding that support for that on the Repeater Widget so that you can now have more rich analytical experiences. Now, if I click on it, what happens is you see that it has now navigated to a different part. So this is more about a navigation paradigm that we have seen is very popular. Or people want to be able to click on things. It could be click on a name, click on a bar, and they want to be able to navigate to a different part or present different content with that context applied. So if I'm clicking on Jane Cooper, I want to see more insights about Jane Cooper. And here is where you'll see that these are insights that are being driven by Einstein Discovery. So I already have an Einstein Discovery story, and it's able to filter insights specifically for Jane Cooper. So this is, again, something that we are exploring, which is how can we make it easier to incorporate those predictive and future-looking insights from Einstein Discovery directly within dashboards. So we could see this as being powered by an Einstein Discovery query, if you will. And you can choose and control and format how the different data points are presented, et cetera, using all of the existing constructs like Repeater Widget, tables, charts, et cetera. Now, next is we spoke about, we are taking a look at prescriptive insights on what is driving these current numbers, but also looking at how we can maybe add in what if capabilities. So being able to play around with certain levers. And this is where we introduce the input widget. So it's an idea that we're thinking of is allowing user input so that now you're not just creating analytical assets, you're actually creating systems of engagement where you can actually take action, see what's happening, run an analysis, and then even write back that analysis. So in this case, there are triggers that I can play with to run different what if scenarios. And with a click of a button, we want to tie back to Salesforce. So being able to directly update that Salesforce forecast object directly from your Tableau CRM dashboard. So I'll present one more demo and then maybe pause for questions. So this next one is about how we can just better navigate, allow your users to these rich analytical experiences that you can drill in, take action, and kind of how all of that fits together. So we'll start off with this dashboard, and you'll see that there's a nice little logo here which says powered by Cdp Direct. The whole point is that we want these dashboards to allow you to combine data from different sources. I'm not talking about data source joins, but really allowing you to bring in these data from different sources, whether it is a Tableau CRM data set, or maybe you have data that's sitting outside that you are unable to bring in, that's sitting in CDP. Allow you to kind of leverage all of these data sources in the same dashboard and then render them in a beautiful experience. So here's an example of that repeater widget again, and you're using, let's say this is a component. So you don't have to create an entire dashboard page for it. You can create a component with these different sub-pages, if you will. So we want to make improvements to the repeater widget. We want to enable actions on it because that is something that we've seen is very popular and something that repeater widget currently lacks. So we want to add support for record actions on repeater widget. So you can just click on something and it opens up the appropriate Salesforce record. Now, being able to really these different ways of adding in this master detail or extra layer of information, we want to make improvements to our pivot tables. And if you see here, pivot tables, there are some certain features like totals, row and column totals, subtotals, the ability to expand, collapse different columns. So in general, beefing up our pivot tables. You come back, table searches or repeater widget searches. Once you search for something, you click on it. And then again, like a master detail where it presents to you more information in here. and then being able to leverage maybe LWC components to do some inline editing. Inline editing support has been added to reports, and you can now leverage and bring those capabilities into a Tableau CRM dashboard with an LWC component probably. So that was like some of the ideas of what we're exploring. So it's all about being able to really build rich analytical experiences with low or no code. And with that, there's some resources that I can send to Sayantani later, but I think that's all I had, and I've taken up quite a bit of time. But hopefully there's enough left for my colleagues to take you through all the cool data platform stuff. Are there any last questions before I hand it off?
There are, and we have less than an hour. So, okay, so the first question is, when is the Sales Intelligence Hub coming to GA?
Oh, the Sales Intelligence Hub. Well, we have Revenue Intelligence that is GA. So we'll be constantly augmenting it with more. Sales Intelligence Hub, I'm not sure. But these are just some concept demos. So you'll see capabilities that we are kind of showing off with the Sales Intelligence Hubs integrated into the Tableau CRM platform so that you can incorporate it into any assets that you build.
And the last question is from Matthew. Are there any limitations on the inputs? Wondering if we will run into issues if end users adjust them frequently.
That's great. I mean, again, this is at a concept stage. We are kind of taking in all sorts of feedback. Right now, we're kind of ideating where these input widgets we plan to incorporate or at least give the authors the ability to add constraints, min, max, whether you can change it or not. There's definitely config pieces that we can build in. And I think it's feedback like this that will actually help us think about it. So hopefully there will be chances to incorporate end user feedback as well once we get more details on this.
Sergio, we are going to come back to your question at the very end. So thank you so much, Anirudh. That was really, really insightful. Who's going next? Neeraj?
Yeah, me and Gary will start with data platform.
Okay, so tag teaming.
Yeah.
Let me share my screen.
Perfect. Thank you, guys. And we have about 40 minutes, though, since this is being recorded and it will be put online. So in case we need to go a little more above time, it's totally fine.
Thank you. Hey, first of all, thanks, Anirudh, for showcasing all the great enhancements to our UI platform and dashboards. I'm here with Gary and Oksana to cover things that are coming in from our data platform teams. So we are representing multiple tracks in the data platform, and I just wanted to spend maybe a few minutes just covering how our teams are organized, what are some of the feature highlights, and then Gary will walk over all the cool demos that we have, and then we'll also tag team on Q&A and any future designs that Oksana might show towards the end of our talk.
Yay.
Again, our favorite safe harbor slide. Please make any decisions based on things that are available in the current release. Just wanted to put that out there. As our data platform has grown over the past many releases, we have kind of organized things into, I would say, these roughly 3 separate tracks, and based on different product areas. So I am sort of responsible for all the tracks that are sort of specific to data prep and transforms, and along with me, we have
Raj, so you took over Tim Biesel's position, but you seem to be doing more than that.
So I'm just trying to coordinate between other tracks as well, but I think my main focus area is data prep, transforms, data flows. So anything to do with those 2 main products, and then
like anything, like if we were divided into like the data monitor tab and the analytics studio tab, you're the data monitor tab.
So the data prep. So basically, Gary is running the team for the data prep UI.
Okay.
Anything for your Canvas enhancements, all your new joins that you get, all the things related to data preview that you see over there. Then we also have Jim, who is helping out with our transforms in the backend. So you have any net new capabilities that you want to introduce into the platform, such as maybe new multi-value operations, new fiscal configuration settings that are coming in. So that's run by Jim. And then I'm also helping out on the Spark engine that's powering the new recipes. So we have teams that are kind of working on enhancing and improving our Spark pipeline, as well as the whole recipe monitoring that you're seeing. So adding more information on recipe details page. So that's kind of the focus area for the data
Okay.
transform track. And then we have kind of spun up this essentially an enterprise track, which is everything to do outside of the pipeline, right? So anything to do with your connectivity, your input and output connectors, your data sync, as well as things like data manager. So the whole data manager area is kind of evolving, as you will see in some of our new
So that
hires.
would be more of like your integration space.
Yeah,
You
so
work.
exactly.
Okay.
So enterprise, anything that you might want to use the recipes or flows to integrate with other parts of the broader Salesforce ecosystem. We are also launching some new focus on kind of orchestration. So we want to kind of make sure we have a good orchestrator tool for some of our capabilities, essentially expanding on the event-based scheduling. So the scheduling and anything outside of the pipeline is more on the enterprise track. So Chris Ames is our PM for connectors, which is all the input and output connectors. Chirag is leading the data manager orchestration piece along with Ken as well. And then, of course, we have our query teams, our template framework, folks who kind of partner with our ISVs. So you're all familiar with Antonio. He runs our query services. So anything that you see that are powering these dashboard lenses is run by our query team. And then you have Skip Sols, who is running our ISV program, our template framework, things that are kind of used by external partners. So that's like roughly how kind of teams are organized. And feel free to add folks on here on LinkedIn, or if you kind of want to kind of find out more information on any of these areas.
I'm
Uh,
screenshotting this, so I won't have to
yeah,
ask you.
I'll share that. I'll share that in the other group as well. But yeah, just wanted to keep this so that it's just better for folks to have a sense of how we are evolving and how many different product areas we are investing in and expanding upon. If you see the bottom line, essentially, I did want to briefly introduce our Salesforce data pipelines, which is essentially our ETL kind of processing package for high performance use cases. So Gary, if you want to go to the next slide. This is just okay. Yeah, I had a sort of slide for Salesforce data pipelines as well, which is essentially a package for just the ETL capabilities, where you might have use cases where you are maybe storing data in Snowflake. You want to write data directly into Salesforce objects, or you want to kind of do that round trip without necessarily maybe creating any dashboards. So we have kind of packaged all those capabilities which are more usage based and for high volume processing into a new product called Salesforce Data Pipelines. So that's across the data prep and enterprise track essentially. Uh, so coming to some of the exciting highlights that we have in this release, I just wanted to maybe showcase a couple of them. We are kind of constantly making progress on closing the gap between what you might have in perhaps data flows versus what's there in data prep. And one of the last remaining items on there were like the fiscal year configuration. Essentially, in data flows, you had the attributes for fiscal year offset and is year end fiscal. Uh, and instead of kind of having those capabilities at a per node level, we have introduced a one-click fiscal setup in data prep. So now you will be able to set up fiscal offsets with just one click, and it will be automatically available for your data prep recipes. We do plan to add more features to that in the coming releases. We'll showcase that later on. We also have the new update node and a new cross join for some limited use cases where you might want to do an actual cross join rather than an inner join where you are duplicated every row in both the tables. So that's something new that's coming in. Also, we are continuing to expand on our smart transforms. You will be able to partition based on multiple dimensions for time series forecasting. So we are adding more and more ML capabilities on the tool as well. Another big thing that's coming this release is data prep is now also available for Government Cloud Plus. So for all the GovCloud users, previously there were some restrictions where you were only able to use the older version of the data prep. But now with Spring 22 for Government Cloud Plus users, you will have the latest version of data prep up and running. On the enterprise side, we are introducing the Data Manager 3.0, which is currently in beta. In the past releases, it was only available for our data pipeline customers, but we are making it available for all TCRM users. That's very exciting. It gives us enhanced capabilities on analyzing things in your recipes, adding more information for your recipe runs, connectivity. It's just an updated experience on the overall homepage for your data platform essentially. Another cool update is there is a new output connector for Azure Data Lake as well as a new HubSpot input connector. And specifically for data pipelines, we are kind of making a lot of improvements where you can just now share data sets between SDP environment and TCRM. So we're kind of closing that gap between SDP users, TCRM users, so that you're able to just expand as you need for both of those use cases. And it's also coming with some expanded limits for SDP licenses. And on the query side, the SQL support is coming in, so you are able to now kind of do SQL queries on dashboard side as well. And we are also coming up with some new exciting data apps. I think I'm very excited about that. We are looking at some of the repeatable patterns that we are seeing in our customers, such as maybe dedupe. You're doing some data cleanup, so we want to introduce some quick start data apps that you can just use for some of those use cases. So that's going pilot in the Spring 22 release, and then you will see it have more features in the next release as well. So that's pretty much it in terms of high level features. Gary will cover a lot of these features in the demo, and if you miss something, I do have some slides in the deck that we can come back to in Q&A as well.
Thank you
Right.
so
So are
much.
we doing? Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, I'm just thanking him for taking time to explain all of these to us.
Oh yeah, I think I screenshotted all the slides for my own personal notes.
Oh,
Thank
yeah.
you.
Yeah, these are extremely important. Thank you so much, Neeraj.
All right. So are we doing the live demo now?
Yes, please.
Yeah,
Okay.
Gary, you've had a busy day. I saw you this morning. Here you are again.
Oh my gosh.
Well, we're
All
an
right.
easier group, so feel free to, take a few breaths here and there.
All right, so let me see, live demos. We're going to, so I plan to show what's new in the current release. What is the current release? The current release is Spring 22, sorry.
Like
and
this
then
weekend.
after that, and then after that, I will show what we're working on for the release after that, summer 22. And then after that, I'm going to hand it over to Oksana to show some design concepts for what we're considering on implementing beyond that. So let's take a look at what's new in Spring 22. Okay, so here we are in Data Manager on the Recipes tab. Let's open a recipe. When you open a recipe, so what if I'm not familiar with this recipe, or I'm completely new to it, and I want to get an at-a-glance overview of the entire graph? We added new zoom controls in the top right here that you can use to fit to screen. So after you click fit to screen, I can now see that this recipe actually has 3 distinct flows in it.
Oh, that's nifty.
Yeah. So there are actually 3 flows there, and I can click on the plus icon to zoom in and the minus icon to zoom out. And then resets the zoom to 100%. So next, I wanted to demo cleanup nodes. So if I'm not totally happy with the layout of the nodes on the graph, I can use cleanup nodes to automatically arrange the node positions for me. So after I click on it, you can see that this makes the graph a little more compact, a little more easier to read and follow. So if I fit to screen again, you can see that the input sources are all positioned on the left edge of the canvas so that the graph flows from left to right. So yeah, makes it a little bit more easier to read. And if you're not happy with the auto range, you can always undo to go back to what it was before. I can redo, clean up. All right, let's see what's next. Set zoom. Oh yeah, so if I'm
very quick question, that zoom in, zoom out, and reset button, I don't see it in the sandbox yet, which is Spring 22.
You don't see it in Spring 22. It should be there for everybody in data prep in Spring 22. So
I will do separately.
Is there a setting we have to use
exactly.
for that?
Is there a setting somewhere?
Nope, everybody gets it.
Okay. So
just not for us.
yeah. Okay, so it's Jen and me. We are special people.
Interesting. Okay, I'll take a look at your setup separately, but no, everybody should have it. And there's no separate setting that you need to enable.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
So if you don't want to do the auto cleanup, you can manually clean up your graph too. We made that a little bit easier by allowing you to select multiple nodes and moving them all at the same time now. Before you were only limited to moving one node at a time. You can now select a group of nodes and move them all at the same time. So that's a nifty thing that we've added.
Oh, okay, I figured out. We have to click on 100 to see the rest. Okay, that's what I missed.
Ah, okay.
So anyone else missing it, it's basically you click on the 100%, then it opens up.
Oh, yeah. So 100% is the collapsed view, and then you click on the 100% to expand it.
Yep.
Oh, thank you, because I was about to deliver bad news that I didn't have it either. I have it.
If you hover over, it says open zoom controls, and then if you hover over again, it says close zoom controls. All right, next I wanted to show data preview progress. So when clicking on a node, there's a little progress ring here that shows you the progress for building the data preview. And then it will show a little check mark for when the data preview is loaded and ready to be viewed. So that's next. I wanted to show in the Add Node menu, we have a new Connect tab here that you can use to reconnect nodes back together. So if I click on the Connect tab, I can choose that I want to connect this tab to, let's say, Transform 1, which was previously connected to, and then select Connect Nodes here. And now they're back. Now they're reconnected. So this menu is particularly useful if you want to reconnect to a node that's like really far away on the graph and not visible on the screen, because normally you would have to like drag all the way to the edge of the screen, right? And then to reconnect the nodes. But you can just use the menu now if the node is off screen. In the transform node, let's see what's new in the transform node. You can, oh yeah, so in the transform node, you can, all the transforms now allow you to specify the field API name directly in the transform side panel. So for example, if I add a formula here, I can specify the API name right there in the transform side panel. So I can say my API name, right? Whereas previously I had to add a separate edit attribute step to change the default API name to my desired API name. Oh, and also all the transform side panels are now resizable so that you can resize the panel larger if you need additional space to work.
These are some awesome additions. These are.
Yeah, thanks for listening to us.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So good.
Oh my gosh, we always listen to you, don't we? Yeah. Okay, never mind.
Other people at Salesforce, not some, or other departments, but
Yeah, TCRM, you guys always do listen to us.
yeah.
So next, in the columns tab, you can now hold down Shift key to select a range of columns. So I'm holding down Shift key to select a range of columns here. So now, whereas before you had to manually select in columns individually, now we made it a little bit easier to select a whole bunch of columns at one time.
Yay.
And
So when you have
yep, there is one more here.
Yay.
Because you can select one and then hold the command or control and select one more. You don't have to do only shift. Yep.
Yeah. So you can do Shift and then you can do.
He already got a question earlier today about whether or not you could search from here on your columns. But we have to go back up.
That's in the, I'll show that next. But
Okay, cool.
Yeah, so then after you select all of this, you can do your action, whatever you want to do. Like you can hide them all. Oh, interesting. I didn't know you can hide all your columns. Okay. Maybe I should show at least one. Maybe I should. Okay. But that's it. That's it for the Spring 22 data prep enhancements. Next, I wanted to show the fiscal configuration and how that works. So fiscal configuration is specified in setup here. So we go to setup. It's under a new section for data prep. So under analytics, data prep settings, I click on data prep settings. And enabling fiscal year is as easy as turning on this toggle. So when I turn it on, I can fill in details like the name of my configuration and then my fiscal configuration, like the starting month and how the fiscal year is defined. So I can choose February. And that's it. After this, then all of the data sets created from recipes will automatically have this fiscal configuration applied to it. And that's all you have to do. All right. Next, let's take a look at, let's jump back into data prep. New recipe. Let's take a look at what's new in Smart Transforms. Let me see. Let's input a data set. So this is a data set, a feedback data set that has feedback from users. And we want to generate some sentiment analysis. We want to do some sentiment analysis on it. So let's add a transform node. Click on the comment tab and then do detect sentiment. So what's new in this release is that you can now generate a numeric value for the sentiment instead of just the normal dimension. So you can change the output type from dimension, which you had before, to measure, which is new for this release. And after clicking apply here, you will see that the generated sentiment is our numeric values between 1 to 5. So this way you can have full control over exactly what you consider to be negative, neutral, or positive. So let's take a look at what's new in time series forecasting. So let's add a time series forecasting step. Let me see. Let's try to forecast something that we just added, like the sentiment. So what's new is being able to group. So you group rows. Let's say we want to group by customer type. And then select the date.
The best thing
field.
for some of you who haven't seen this work before is initially before this release, we have to go in, create an aggregate node separately, and then create a transform on top of that. Now we don't need to do any of those things. It's all in one single go, which is so much better.
Yeah, aggregation is part of this transform now.
Yep.
So you don't have to have a separate node for it. And then let's forecast, I don't know, let's do 7 periods. So after clicking apply now, the preview should load. Yeah. And if I scroll down, I can see my forecasted periods for February, March, April, May, and June right here. So it's as simple as a few clicks just to forecast data. Next, let's take a look at cross-join. Let's add another data set and join them together. So if you add a join node, you will see a new join type here called cross-join. You can select it. So you'll have a little pop-up bubble that explains to you what it is. Each row on the left is matched with each row on the right. And you can verify that here as well. Well, in this case, I joined the same data set together, or I cross-joined the same data set together, but I think you get the idea. So adding a cross-join is as simple as that. It's in beta. All right, so that's all I have for what's new in Spring 22. I'll pause here for any questions. Let me see. Let me try to figure.
I think it starts way up somewhere. Okay, so Sergio says that once you rearrange the nodes in the recipe, do you have to save it so other users can see the new layout?
Yes. It's as if you manually move the nodes. So if you change the node positions, you have to save it for the other user to see it. And all users will see the same layout. So it's not as if each user has their individual layouts.
Got it. Okay, Matthew says lots of great quality of life improvements that will make data prep easier. Thanks, Gary. Of course, these are great improvements. Thank you. Can you turn off the data prep fiscal year setting?
Oh, do you mean by just turning it off the toggle like right here?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
In which case? So
yeah, I was just wondering if there's any impacts to that.
I think the impact would be that it would just run as if it were before, like not having the fiscal configuration applied. Like Perfect. So any new data sets generated after you turn it off would be run as if they didn't have this applied to them.
So if essentially if you're planning to use data prep, I would recommend using, and you want the fiscal offsets, right? I think I would want us to kind of use this configuration, which essentially will override any other fiscal offsets that you might have in any of your other data sets, right? So essentially, this would be the way forward for data prep and fiscal offsets instead of specifying it in the data flow nodes that you had. Here, we'll plan to, again, safe harbor, but add multiple fiscal configurations and provide more parameters as well. But this is essentially going to be a global setting for fiscal offsets. There is a separate concept of custom fiscal configuration, which is different altogether. But this is specifically for offsets that impact the TCRM data sets, specifically in data prep.
So much easier than doing it in data flow.
Yeah, so you just have to turn this on, specify the parameters here, and it will automatically appear in all your recipe nodes. That's the beauty of it.
There are two more questions here. Sergio says, awesome features at Gary. Any plans to add a search function to the columns panel of the transform node?
Yes, I'll be showing that next in the next section.
And Raj is asking, does this fiscal year option work for data flow as well? Good question.
This is the primary targeted for data prep. So that's where all our kind of new features are more geared towards data prep. With data flows, you have the existing ability of the fiscal offsets. We wanted to introduce something new in the new platform.
And we'll be enhancing this configuration screen in the future for things like the first day of the week. All right, if that's it for the questions, I will move on to what we're currently working on for the summer release. So let me see if it's this tab. I think it's this tab. Okay, 1 second. All right, let me open a recipe. Columns tab search will be new in summer. And how that works is how you would expect. So so I type in the name and I can search, and the matching columns appear underneath. All of the values and all the columns are searchable. So I can search for dimension. or
So
source.
our control F or command F will now become this. Awesome.
Yes.
Perfect. Thank you.
So this is coming in summer. What is also new is the ability to rename transform steps. So if I add a transform here, you notice how all of these transform names are default, like they have default names that you cannot rename, but what's new will be that you can rename them to a custom name. So I can say my custom name here. So that you don't no longer have to have like huge transform lists of like all formula. You can rename them to something that's more meaningful to you. So this is a little bit new. I think the search, the global search up here, like as first of all, you can search for transform step names, so that if I close it and search for transform step name, it will bring me directly to the transform step name that matches. So that's new. Before you were only able to search on nodes. But also you have this little drop down here that will limit the scope of your search. So let's say I'm only interested in looking for join nodes by a particular name. I can click on join to limit my search scope and then type in the join node that I'm interested in. So we think that this is going to be allow you to browse the graph in a little easier way. All right, let's take a look at the filter node next. We added the ability to add filters on relative date. But first, do I have a date column here? No, so let's create a date column. And then if I add a filter on a date column, there's going to be a new toggle option here for absolute or relative. So absolute is what you have now and what you're used to, like it's the field operator date pattern. But if I click on relative, now I can specify a relative filter for records that match a particular condition. For example, I want to match records that are where this date value falls within the range of 3 years ago to right now. Right? And I can click apply, and it will filter all the records, or all the records will qualify because it's all now. You can specify quarter, month, day, year, and also you can click on this to type in a value. So like 1,000 days ago, or no, 1,000 days ahead to 1 day ago, or 1 day ahead. Oh wait, that's weird. That might be a bug. Okay, never mind. I don't know why it's ahead and ahead, because I found a bug. But you get the idea. We're going to add the ability to add relative date filters. Next, I wanted to show filter expressions. So if you click on this little drop down here, and you click on custom expression, here is where you'll be able to type in a custom Boolean expression. So you can type in any custom Boolean expression here, and then if the expression evaluates to true, that means we'll keep the row. If it evaluates to false, that means we'll filter the row out. So it could be, you could do some neat things like do like field to field filters. Like if you wanted to find records where the listed in value is the same as the cast value, that's kind of ridiculous, but if you did, right, then you can click apply here. So, and we expect 0 records to satisfy this, but I think it's super powerful. You can type in any custom expression here that you would like normally type in the formula node. All right. And lastly, I wanted to call out one special thing where maybe this is not the best example. Let me try to find country. So there are places in the UI where we show lists of dimension values, like the filter node in this example, or in the bucket node. The current behavior is that we show the values that only exist in the sample right now. In summer, we're going to be enhancing that so that all of the values will be searchable and accessible. So in that case, I can search for, I don't know, New Zealand, but assuming that New Zealand wasn't available in the sample, I could search for it, like assuming this is like all these records fall outside of the sample, they would show up here and they would be selectable so that all the values in your data set will be accessible from the filter panel and the bucket panel. Yeah. So those are some of the things that we're working on for the summer release. And I'll pause here again to answer any questions.
Oh, that's an awesome feature. Thank you so much for the roadmap, Gary. We do have a question. Is it possible to delete a connection like join 0 to join 1 like we have in the flow? So basically what's going on is without deleting the nodes, can we delete the connection in between?
I guess I skipped over that. So delete connection is also new. So delete. Wow. Was this a planted question? Was this a planted? No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, so there it is. This is also going to be new in summer.
Perfect. Thank you.
But I thought that feature was too small to demo. All right. Was there any other questions?
Nope. Whoever was posting said that, great, that's the feature we definitely needed.
All right, now I'll hand it over to Oksana to talk about features that we're considering for further releases beyond this.
Thank you so much, Gary. Thank you, Neeraj, as well, for taking this up.
Thank you so much, Gary.
Oh yeah, for sure. And if you have any feedback on any pain points or anything that you'd like to see improved, we definitely listen.
You're reminding us how much work we have to do to convert all of our old stuff and build new things.
Jen, maybe
we don't
that's
have to.
also,
That's coming, yeah.
Some good updates coming on that as well. Perhaps a follow-up in March I can share. Yeah.
Hi.
Yeah, please tell me I don't. Oh, sorry, Oksana.
No, all good. Sorry, Jane, go ahead.
I said, how are you? It's been
I'm
such a long
good.
time. I've seen your lovely face.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
I want to know what you guys have to make our jobs easier to convert over to the new data flow interface.
I believe there are also plans. Maybe Neeraj, you can talk a little bit more to it about the conversion of data flows to recipes.
Yeah, and we can always take any of this offline. I just I know everybody on here. I'm speaking for about 6 people that I'm taking what's in this meeting and pasting it in Slack to them to tell them what I'm finding out. So yeah, if there's any extra topics that we don't cover here, I'll find you after.
I think we'll do a dedicated session to maybe data flows to recipes. What does it take? We have some good, exciting updates coming in. So I definitely want to share that plan with the group. Maybe we can plan that for March. But yeah, the spoiler would be there is an up conversion tool that's in progress. So we do want to kind of introduce that as a beta in the upcoming release, which will allow you to essentially just click on a drop down, hit convert to a recipe, and it will create a new version of that data flow into a recipe. That's what we're working on. I'll share more details once it's kind of ready to share.
I see there's a question about monitoring the job of the recipe. And that's something I didn't show that we should probably show as well. So let me show the recipe job screen.
Yeah, this is another big topic that we are heavily investing in, for sure.
So on the jobs monitor page, you can now, there's gonna, for a recipe job, they're now going to be clickable, and if you click through them, it will bring you to a job monitor page. I guess, Neeraj, do you want to walk through what's here?
Yeah, essentially we've kind of looked at all the shortcomings that we were seeing, and also maybe some of the questions that kept coming, which is like, how long does my recipe take? Things like which node is performing better or worse. So that's why kind of we added some interesting details in here, which is also, you'll see on top, we have something called wait time, which is essentially if you have multiple recipes sort of conflicting for a single open slot, you will see the actual wait time that your recipe is kind of queued up before running. So we kind of splitting that duration into the actual recipe run duration and wait time, where that recipe probably is waiting for its own slot. We've also included a breakdown of your input and output sources by sort of each target. And for each of these sources, you're getting information like rows in, rows out, essentially letting you know how many kind of rows were being processed, and also the duration for it. We do plan to add some more columns in here, which will give you more context around how much data is also being processed, right? So again, this is more forward looking, but I do want to add more context around data set size, so that you'll know that, okay, maybe there is a particular column that's consuming more time than a different uh, data set, right? Just adding rows in and rows out sometimes is not enough. I think I do want to highlight the size of the data as well, because each type of column can be different. The other piece, right now, you will see all the transformations clubbed together into a single node. This is something that we are working on. Unlike data flows, data prep kind of runs on a Spark engine, which is essentially much more advanced, and it does a lot of parallel computation. So it's not like we are tackling one particular task at a time. So there are multiple things that are happening in parallel. So we want to expose some of that information in a more digestible manner in the coming releases. That would help you debug your recipes and kind of look for optimizations as well. Yeah, so I think that's kind of a quick blurb on this page. I know we do have some mockups and designs that we are thinking to enhance the overall recipe capabilities, as well as historical trends as well.
Thank you so much, Neeraj. We are going to take the questions, but after Oksana finishes, then we are going to come back and take the questions. Oksana, all yours.
Thank you. Okay, so let me share my screen. I hope you can see it, right?
Yes, we can.
Okay, so I'm gonna walk you through a couple of enhancements we're thinking for the future releases. And as we talked about conversion of data flows into the recipe, we were thinking, how can we simplify that experience? Okay. Sorry, I'm not that pro with this tool. Can you actually see what it's playing? Okay, probably it cannot expand. Hope you can see what I have on the screen, even though it might be a little bit small.
No, we do.
Okay, perfect. So imagine that you start from a canvas, and in the data flow, you used to have a data set builder. So it's kind of a quick way to build your data sets inside of the tool. So we were thinking, how can we help you to get similar experience within the recipe tool? So first, you maybe start from those ghost nodes, and you can see that we have a new tab right now on the right-hand side that says related objects and columns. And so that tab allows to join to related data sets. And you can notice that after
that's nifty.
Okay. Yeah, and one minor thing I forgot to mention, please. This is very new, and welcome to any feedback you have. So we will also send out a form later on where you can leave your comments, and we'll ask you to prioritize out of all features you saw today, which one you think will bring the most value to you. But back to our feature, all of the columns you select on the right, everything you join, you can now join to multiple sources right from this model. So let's say here you joined to recipe 5, and it selects automatically that source on the left. And now after you click next, it will be automatically joined on the canvas. So I can play that feature once again, but I think in general, you got the idea. You can select multiple sources right now and see all of the related objects and columns to that source. So this is first feature we are thinking about. Then next one is grouping nodes. So aside of an ability to move to selects, we also heard that a lot of customers want to be able to group those nodes into logical case for their flow, or maybe just separate it out of from the canvas. So now we want to provide ability to group nodes, and then not aside of that you can only group them, but you can also ungroup, of course, or maybe change a color for your group, and also change a name and a description to the group. Maybe somewhere in the future, we're also considering what if you can duplicate those nodes. So that's another feature. And then canvas annotation. So again, we've heard a lot from customers that they document their flows in order to share with the team. And so it's just a simple feature that might enhance the experience of that annotation. It's a free flow annotation, so you can put a text anywhere on the canvas, and it will be not tied to nodes and not tied to nodes annotation. Probably a question we had here also for a feedback from you. Do you want that feature to auto-arrange along with your canvas, or free flow text is acceptable? So, and the last thing I want to demo today is same. What if you have that group of nodes and you want to maybe break down your master flow into smaller recipes? So first question is again open for feedback from you, and please post it in the form we'll send out later. How else do you expect to break down a bigger recipe into smaller flows? But one of the ideas we had, what if you just have this group and you can create a new recipe out of it? And so it will just take a group of those nodes and create a new tab with a new recipe, and then you can save it or do your other transformations. So I'll stop sharing and open to any questions and any feedback.
Okay, there are a lot of questions, and thank you. These were awesome things. And yes, you will get feedback from a lot of people for sure.
Wonderful.
Okay, so let me start with the very first one. Can we schedule a data sync as incremental? Let's say 4 times a day, and full sync as well once per day.
Yeah, we're just responding right now. That's not possible. So the closest you can get is periodic sync. But yeah, I think I'll take that feedback to Chris.
Thank you. Will recipe have details on each process when it runs for the first time, and or it's refresh in the near future? In this case, similar to data flow that has those details.
Yeah, so in Spring 22, the new recipe details page that we were showing will show you the recipe run details for the first time, and even in the future. We also want to add, I mean, you can search by the recipe and see the historical times for past 30 days as well. And for each run, you will see the input output rows for your input sources and output sources. One difference that is coming in from data flows to recipes is in data flow transformation, things run sequentially. So that's why you have that node level kind of breakdown. In recipes, since it's powered by Spark, things run in parallel. So there are multiple operations that we are able to kind of take advantage of the parallel compute. And that's why you will see a lot of gains in terms of compute processing. So
which one gets, sorry to interrupt, I wanted to get in here quickly. Which one would process first if you had, say, like replication, recipes, and data flows running? The recipes priority?
I was actually referring to the processing within the recipe. So when you run the graph, it kind of parallelizes a lot of compute in the backend. So that's why it's not it kind of takes multiple tasks and creates a stage. So it's kind of different. It's a different platform than data flows. So that's why we want to expose some a different view of that optimization that folks are looking for, which is tell me which part of my recipe is taking longer than before. So it won't be exactly the same as data flows, but we want to essentially introduce some sort of a debug mode so that perhaps you can run your sort of flow up to a particular point, and that on that point you can understand what's going in and out of that flow, which part is taking longer. We
Pause
also
it. Pause
want to
it.
introduce performance advisors, which is essentially ability to maybe let the users know whether this graph is green, yellow, or red, right? Because there are things that take a lot of processing, and we want to provide that information to the user. Right now, there is no such information. So that's something we are definitely brainstorming. But overall, recipe optimization and kind of transparency is one of our
When you get to the point about informing users, please put me in there because I'm data traffic control and constantly all day. Is this dashboard updated? Did that data set go? All day long?
Yeah, Jen
So-
and I are on the same boat all day long. Even if you tell people sending emails, multiple emails, telling them exactly when.
Right now they
done.
use the, what is it, the date at the top of the dashboard. Like if they're,
Yeah.
wanting to know about a dashboard.
No one is going to look at them, Jen. Been there. Okay. Anyways, here's the next question, and this is from Jen. Will the related objects also display lookup fields, or is it just objects on your related list?
This is one of my big pet peeves. And Niraj, if you can remember way back at the end of 2017 when I came to you because I had an object that had 12 lookups and all the lookup objects were not connected to each other. So this is huge, right? Like where when we're building and we're in there and we need to pick, it's saying, oh, these are the objects on the related list, but it's not saying it also looks up to a lot of other things that aren't in the related list. So take that into consideration, pretty please.
No, for sure. I think these are some of the concepts we are brainstorming on. So we'll perhaps just take it offline and also share some feedback on like what exactly would be some pain points. We want to make it a better experience than data flows for sure. So we don't want to necessarily just keep it as that. Like ideally, it would be much easier to just add those related objects and fields in the input node. So yeah, point taken.
Yes, because right now it doesn't tell you, like when you pull that data in, if you pull a lookup field, you might get an ID in there, but it's not, that could be a text ID, that could be a lookup, you don't know, and it behaves differently when you're running your data, right? So yeah, take that into consideration.
Perfect. Next one is in an ETL system, usually we do incremental multiple times a day while periodic once a day. Wanted to implement similar approach. Yeah, that's what Neeraj is taking back. Thank you, Neeraj, for doing that. Sergio says, yes, grouping, labeling, and coloring of nodes. OCD smiles. We all have OCDs about grouping and labeling and coloring. It's impossible. I still remember when I first started with data flows, everything in the very beginning. This was before Matthew Howard's all beautifully colored data flows started, became a Chrome extension. So I literally had things like digest, join, append, filter. I had literally all over, the names became so big. So it would be what I'm doing, what is my left, what is my right? If I am doing a filter, why am I doing a filter? That would be the whole name. So this is going to stop us from doing madness and mad things that we love doing on data flows. But thank you for that, Oksana. Gary, your form is working. Thank you so much for the feedback form. Raj is asking anything related to multi-currency handling.
Yeah, multi-currency is one of those most kind of requested enterprise features that I get, and we had a lot of discussions with multiple customers, multiple users about it. I think as an overall data platform track, we kind of work on these big enterprise features. So the last feature we kind of delivered was time zones. It's again a feature that cuts across different tracks, like not just data platform, but also how do you surface it up on the UI. So that's something that we just went GA with. The next big enterprise feature is multi-currency that we are thinking about. So we have some ideas floating around. There are some kind of spikes that we are doing. So it is on our short-term radar. I don't have a release timeline for it, but we are hoping we could kind of go beta with a small, like a particular use case in the next 1 to 2 releases. Again, feel free to reach out to me if you have any particular use case in mind that we should look at. But it is on our radar. Hoping to share more details in the next coming releases.
Perfect. Thank you so much, everyone. This was great. We learned a lot. We know what's coming in the roadmap. Hopefully, our seniors will be happy this time. Right, Jen? Matthew is not here. Otherwise, I would.
I don't think they cannot be happy because there's a lot of features that are coming out that
Exactly.
we
Exactly.
very long time for.
Yep.
So
Waiting for a very long time for them.
so much. And even though we're all long distance during pandemia, we're not doing our events and our meetups, you know, we're thinking about you all the time. So I'm glad to have that org chart to understand who's where. And as far as sorry, I'm up in my head thinking about this. As far as the community, you know, there's 10 places we go, right, to find you guys. And I'm curious if there's going to be some place in the future that we can all go, like let's say we digest what happened here today and say, oh, this idea came to me. What is the best method of reaching any one of you?
Should we use the Slack group? Like, is that something that's heavily
Yeah,
used?
most people are on Slack now. Yes.
I feel
Either-
that Data Tribe Slack, if we can maybe, just
Use that one?
start
Yeah,
using
use
that
that one.
heavily.
But I'm also seeing a lot of questions in the Trailhead community, which is a great place actually, because it should be used especially for questions so that everyone else gets to know. But definitely Slack would be the second choice after Trailhead community.
It's too bad the community doesn't let you hang out in there all day. It bumps you out.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I just have it up all day.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's mostly for questions. That should be the platform to be used.
Mm-hmm.
And for us to chat and give ideas, Slack.
And now I have to go debrief everybody I work with what I just heard on here.
Same here. Sergio says this was a great session. I learned a lot and really appreciate all the work that has gone and is going to make the product better. Yes. Thank you. Thank you so much. And I'm going to stop the recording, but anyone wants to hang on, please feel free to.